Hello, everybody. My name is Brady,
And my name is Matt.
and today we're going to talk to you guys about labels being used in the United States and how they can be used as forms of suppression, and also how demeaning language and different slurs can be are labels, and how they can be used to take people down and really make them feel bad about themselves for something that they really can't change. So yeah. First, I think we wanted to talk about belonging, right? And how it's really hard to feel like you belong somewhere when, somebody is labeling you as something, and you don't necessarily feel like you might not. It's like imposter syndrome.
Like it also adds to like it's just you don't feel at home anywhere. You
Yeah.
you're a displaced person and stuff, and you're always on that hunt, for
Hmm.
that next place that like can I feel at home here? But because this label has followed you around, like you're Hispanic or whatever, and you have now been deemed that for the rest of your life, you can't find that place to belong, and that label just suppresses you deeper and deeper down.
Yeah, I was personally thinking, they talk about like living like a suburban life. It doesn't necessarily, when I think of a suburban life, I automatically think of middle class white people all living together, and it's very if it, I can totally see how it could totally feel unreachable and unobtainable for some people who have been told their whole lives that they're lower class, and that's all they'll ever be. And they, because of that, because people saying that, they might not feel like they can obtain goals, they can reach goals, they can get a job that can move them into the suburbs, that can move them into a better neighborhood.
And society has really put like a constraint on it. Like the United States may not, openly, of course, admit that they're, you know deterring people from either coming or going to certain locations. But look at like our history through time and stuff, through slavery and things such as that we're still having those aspects appear in today's society, and they're not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just like the United States, going in and making what they would call ghettos in certain neighborhoods, and the lower class families are the only place that they can afford to live. And because it's the only place that they can afford to live, they send their kids to the schools that are in those areas, and those schools aren't as funded by the community, and they don't necessarily feel like they belong in a school where they might have a lot of other options. Coming out of it, they might have a better graduation rate at a school that's a couple miles down the street, but it's in the suburbs, so they don't feel like they belong there, they don't feel like they should go there, and thus they end up getting stuck in a little bubble of their hometown, and they're never able to escape this.
It's these like it's these standards that get set. So like they're we see people, like if you go look out in the public and stuff and ask a majority of people, they're going to go, oh, that white kid over there, he comes from a rich family, so he's set for life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that black kid over there, well, he doesn't come from a rich family, so he has to go through so many more
Yeah.
hurdles to even get to the point where that he can be recognized as the individual that he is.
To even he has to go through so many hurdles to even gain the respect from the people around him to believe that he could achieve those goals, let alone actually achieve those goals, which is a whole nother step above that.
But then society has just kept putting those restraints on it, where each time we see a new person like Martin Luther King try and challenge those boundaries, someone pushes them right back down.
Hmm.
And it's just that cycle that repeats itself and repeats itself.
Yeah, the one that I just thought of a few seconds ago was like Chinatown. There's a Chinatown in almost every single neighborhood across the United States of America. Every big neighborhood. Sorry, I should say. And it, it feels like a big place of culture. And it is, it's a huge place where you can go in, and you can embrace yourself in Chinese culture, and there's a bunch of people that are walking around to also are embracing this culture, and they come from it, and they're teaching you how to embrace it. But if you look at it from an outsider's point of view, these people don't feel comfortable enough living somewhere else that is in the United States. They feel like they're stuck to this. I keep saying it, but this bubble. They feel like they're stuck to this bubble, and they don't belong anywhere else other than in, these places that are made by cities to hold people that they deem maybe not necessarily lesser, but these government officials are going in, and they're creating these spaces for people to live because they don't want them living in the other places.
Well, that reminds me of the video that we actually have just watched recently on the village called Versailles in New Orleans and stuff. And it was this community that was just the Vietnamese that just got put into that one location and did it. And it wasn't that, and in a way they couldn't get out, but it was also like they didn't feel safe to go out. And then after Hurricane Katrina hit, you can go look at the gathering and stuff, or the planning, the development, or whatever, and they were completely excluded from the map.
Yeah,
they were just cut off entirely, almost like, go back, we don't want you. And it was just that other form of belonging that they just couldn't find. So they had to rely on each other. Their sense of community was the only form of belonging that they could find.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense as to why they were stuck in this community. Clearly the government didn't want them out of it, but they did feel comfortable with each other. They definitely felt comfortable. They definitely felt like they belonged in this community, and that's why they were able to connect with each other, and they were actually, able to fix their community themselves when nobody else was willing to help them out, was willing to do anything for them.
Yeah, to lend that real helping hand,
Yeah. And a lot of these, people are getting placed into these bubbles. And I think a lot of that has to do with language. A lot of the different ways that people are referred to, racial slurs, stuff like that. And how those are just, those can massively affect somebody's mental health, depending on who it is that says a certain word or a certain phrase. It can totally affect somebody's feeling of belonging.
It's this language of like derogatory terms that are meant to tear someone down.
Yes.
And the thing is, though, people are uninformed in today's world with them. They'll hear these growing up. They'll hear these words from their parents and past generations, and go, "Oh, that's the norm. That's what I can just say that." And then it just keeps on going. So until we actually take a moment and teach properly to these generations, no matter if you're from the North or the South or wherever, until we teach them to actually stop and what is politically correct and stuff, we're just going to keep ending this cycle of people yelling, saying, "You need to stop," and people saying, "I don't want to change."
Exactly. And a lot of them stem from the one that comes to mind, and I'm not going to, I'm not going to say it, but the R slur. Is it used to be used as a medical term. A lot of people growing up, it was a medical term. That's how it was mental, mental retardation was what the diagnosis was called by doctors. Yeah. And so a lot of people grew up knowing that, and now it's been flipped into a word that is very demeaning, and it is very mean to people who are neurodivergent. I have a little sister who has Asperger's, and so a lot of her life she's been growing up and heard a lot of these words unfortunately. But she's pretty strong. She's able to fight that, but a lot of people aren't. A lot of people aren't able to overcome that. And
that's what leads to those like events of, sadly, like people taking their own lives, or those drastic things where they fall into these pits of depression and stuff. Like another prime example is honestly the entire LGBTQ community,
Mm-hmm.
what they go through, like literally just by a woman saying
On
I'm a lesbian, they are instantly just thrown into this category where it's like, you're different, I
mm-hmm.
don't accept you.
Yes.
And
Yep.
it's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes both ways for men and women. It can be extremely tough for both groups, and you know, I personally can't. I'm not necessarily in those communities, and I can't talk for them directly, but I can infer, you know, from
Yes,
what
of
we've heard.
course.
And yeah, I mean, some of you know some of the thing, and the worst part is it's not just your average everyday person saying these things. It's government officials going up and taking a stand and saying we cannot allow gay marriage. It's people going up and
Yeah.
talking to
And
the
the laws and
masses.
policies getting
Hmm.
put in place as well.
Exactly. And then these people are real thinking, they're seeing these government officials saying this stuff, and they're going, oh man, that guy's high in power. That guy has a lot of power. That guy has a lot of money. He has a lot of influence. He must be right. And they're buying into these ideologies, and really, I mean, you know, I mean, it's terrible the way
And
it's the homophobic slurs that they're saying, and the homophobia that's being bred by these people saying these slurs.
it's
Yeah.
just these traditions that get passed down to families and stuff. It's
Mhm.
like there's no way to phase it out because we're having, you know, the eighth kid of the McCullen line or whatever is bred after their father and their father's father and everything with, this is how you're supposed to
Mhm.
act, and they're going to follow it, like compared to someone else who's like who grew up in a different environment entirely and
Mhm.
has different social values. it's
Yes.
it's that expression, arguing with a crazy person, but it goes both ways.
Mhm.
You can't stand there and have a conversation with someone if they're not willing to open up.
Yeah.
If they're too closed off, there's no, you can have all the facts and reasoning behind it,
But you're
but it
talking
doesn't matter.
but you're talking to a brick wall. You know,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think a lot of this language and stuff, personally, I think it incites a lot of fear into people. It incites a lot of people are afraid to be who they are because they know that if they are who they are, if somebody were to come out, they know that they could be facing backlash from people who
From
they
their
think is
their
their
parents, they
peers,
could be
from their
disowned.
teachers, from people who are very high in their lives, very high status, you know, parents, principals, teachers, stuff like that. And it incites this fear into them where they're not able to be themselves. They're not able to express themselves. They're not able to, you know, and they just can't live their lives. It's a terrible cycle. And I think, I think that we put it best when we said that the oppressors are breeding more oppressors, and the oppressed are breeding more oppressed, and neither of these groups are able to get out of their subsections, and one group keeps putting the other group down, and the other group can't climb up and can't climb out and can't speak for themselves because they're afraid of what the backlash is going to be
That
if they do that.
that's really like a lot of individuals too, though, like in those low income areas
Mm-hmm.
where they can't, that fear has set in and stuff where it's like, i'm I'm only safe if I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm only safe if I'm with my people, whoever they may be and stuff, because they, for instance, like, you know, the black community has
Mm-hmm.
gone through so much from racial prejudice recently, especially with cops and everything, where kids are taught now not to, you know, trust the police. They're taught to fear the
Even
police.
if you're in danger, don't call the police because they are the danger, you know.
Exactly.
And so what do you do? How do you what do you can't escape it. You can't ever get away from it. You're stuck in this
And,
cycle where
and from a
you're
and from a
always stuck.
perspective of a person that, for instance, that's white, what am I going to go say? I can't, for instance, share those same things. I can go,
Mhm.
oh, I would help support you, whatever, but
I've
I
never
can't.
lived it.
I don't know what you're going through, and
Exactly.
as much as I can say, oh, I feel you or I'm with you,
Hmm.
it's pointless.
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't really connect because you can't actually imagine what they're going through. Is the best thing we can
Mm-hmm.
do is from our position is try and inform other individuals to change their mindset.
And as a white male, I mean, really, all that I can do, all that we can do, is inform the public that these ideologies are wrong. They're
Outdated as well.
outdated. They're outdated. They don't hold any, you know, they don't hold any stature in today's society, and they shouldn't. And unfortunately they do. Sorry, I should have said that they do, but they shouldn't, you know.
Yeah.
and and it's because you're making fun of somebody for something that they can't change. So what are they supposed to do? They're stuck in this box. They can't ever, you know, they can't change the color of their skin, and they can't, and so they're stuck in this place where they literally cannot crawl out of it.
And they're taught that concept of just, overcome it, like
Mm-hmm.
just overcome it. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's simple, but it's simple coming from someone that doesn't experience
Experience it.
what all of these oppressed groups are going through.
Yep. Yep.
Being someone that's like, and being an individual, I guess you could say, that
Mm-hmm.
hasn't gone through it, you can't experience firsthand. You can only like resonate with the concept and the idea of what they went through.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and it all goes back to labels. It all goes back to just you know, the way that people treat each other, and the fact that really it just needs to be better. I mean, that's it. You know,
Yeah.
it just needs to be better. People need to treat each other better, and I think that we can do that with language. I think that the use of language should be changed, can be changed, and will be
Taught in
changed,
schools
and will be
differently.
changed. Taught in schools, parents will understand it more, and they'll teach their kids. Other kids will talk to other kids more intelligently, and without these ideologies, and it will breed a generation of youth that weeds out the demeaning and racist and intimidating and, you know, sexist and homophobic language that is used now to oppress people.
And really just give everyone kind of that sense of community again, that sense of belonging, where they
Mm-hmm.
can go out and enjoy their life every day. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to fear stepping outside that they might get shot or
Mm-hmm.
anything else. They can
Yeah,
go enjoy your life to the fullest. And that's what
exactly.
I think the biggest thing that labels help hinders
Yeah.
is letting people enjoy their lives. Labels are more of a deterrent to joy, even though they're not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I think you put it really well there. I think that's a great place to end off on. So thank you to everybody for listening to us talk. And I hope that you guys learned a little bit from it. I know researching this topic, and I don't know exactly how Matt feels, but I'm sure you can resonate with me. But researching this topic has, I thought that I was woke. I thought that I was, and it really just opened up my eyes to different possibilities and different ways that we can change as a society to be
And
more
help build it
accepting.
up.
Exactly, exactly. So I hope that everybody took something from this, and that you guys enjoyed. And thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching, everyone.